Welcome back to Outdoor Exploration. I'm Emily, and today I have my friend Will on the video because I have known Will for a very long time, and in all that time I see him most often wandering through this park and other places exploring, and he knows a lot about this area and the animals and plants and small insects and large insects and birds and everything else that live here. And I thought it would be great to get his perspective today. So part of the time we're going to be wearing our masks in order that we can actually look at some of these things up close, and hopefully everything will be audible and we can see some of what Will loves.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is one of my favorite spots on Bowen Island. It's the bridge across Killarney Creek, and it goes to the meadow. And it crosses this wonderful wetland that has so much going on, and every time I come, there's something new going on. So let's have a little explore. So Emily, this is the time of year where the beavers are harvesting, and you look down here and you see all the sedges that have been pulled up by the beavers. They're pulling up the sedges so they can harvest the delicious starchy roots that are underneath. And then what they're going to do is they're going to be dragging this over to their dam over here, which we can have a look at in a minute. Mm-hmm. And let's go and have a look. Can the camera follow us?
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look over here. And as you can see down here, you've got the beaver dam, and they're pushing up the mud and the sedges to fix the dam. And if we get a little closer over here and swing down here, you can almost see the beaver's paw prints in the mud. And so this is where I think the young beavers are learning how to make a dam. And so this is one of the things that's happened over the last 30 years or so. Beavers have moved in and made a whole new wetland. And so this is attracting all kinds of wildlife, and hopefully we'll see some of them, some of the things. Hopefully we'll see the dragonflies that are living here, and I've heard things like kingfishers flying over, and there's another bird that I'm hoping we'll be able to see. You might even have it on your sound check. Mm-hmm. Behind your voice, there was a cackling sound, and that was a Virginia rail.
Oh! Testing.
And so
I didn't notice at all.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. I'm just thinking about this. Is it a fair comparison to say this is like farmers who, use the carrots for food and then the stems for compost or whatever, and are using them somehow on the land?
Yep.
It just looks like a complete farm process to me.
Yeah, well, the beavers don't waste.
Yeah.
And so they're in a wetland, so they don't have trees to make their dams. They just get little bits of driftwood and that kind of stuff. And then they make most of the dam with mud that they just carry up from the bottom, and they scoop it up, and you can actually see them carrying it like this under their chins and depositing and patting it down with their paws.
Right. I have been asked many times when I was here about these piles.
Yep.
Which I believe are not made by the beavers, but by the park rangers taking apart their dam. Is that right?
That's right. And so there's no time that I've ever seen beavers make two lodges side by side like this. And talking to the parks people, all they do is they come every October, November, and they take the dam down so that the winter floods don't wash this bridge away.
Right.
And so, and for some reason, beavers do not look at that wood as stuff that they can make a dam with, and so they go get it from other places.
That's interesting. I wonder why. I almost wonder if it's too old, would it rot faster, or maybe somehow be inferior? Maybe they know it's useless to them.
Maybe. And the other thing is beavers have spent thousands of years learning that you go out and you cut down a tree and then you move it to make the dam, and when they see a wood pile, they're just going,
What's
I don't
that?
know what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So if they're eating the roots of the sedges, what else do they eat?
Well,
and is it different in different times of year? Is this only their autumn food?
I think it's their autumn food. In the spring, one of the things I see is if we go over here, you can see that little eddy area there where you can see the sedges in a kind of a U shape.
Yeah.
Well, that's a beaver feeding spot, and so that's one of the places that they'll bring the sedges and just kind of hang out there and eat it. But in the spring, what I see, instead of sedges, I see little stems of salmonberry. And so they're eating salmonberry shoots.
Like we do.
Yeah.
Aha.
So they've got this is their smorgasbord.
Yeah.
And it's seasonal and they're designed for living in wetlands, and so they know what to eat.
Yeah.
And when to eat it.
And are they purely vegetarian?
Definitely.
Huh.
So the cool thing about the beavers is they're making this whole wetland that's habitat for all kinds of different animals. And one of the things that lives here are fish. And we've got some little cutthroat trout that live in the water here. And I've brought some cheese here just to show that I'm going to imitate what happens when an insect falls onto the surface from the plants around here. So I'm going to toss it in here. Woo! And the fish grab it, just like that. So they're treating that piece of cheese just like a beetle that's fallen from the sedges onto the water surface, and bang, the fish is there because there's all kinds of other fish in there and they're all hungry. And so they just nab that. And so we've got to kind of look at this as a perfect spot to be a fish, because you've got all these weeds that are they're sedges that are making food out of sunlight. All kinds of insects come to eat it, and then they fall in. And up to 60% of the food of a trout that lives in a stream like this is not coming from water bugs that live underwater, but land insects that go and fall into the water.
And get stuck there and can't leave and are eaten.
Yeah, and even if they could struggle to and pull themselves out on the weeds, they don't have much of a chance because the fish are on them as soon as they fall in.
And they're vigorous.
They are. And so they're knowing that it's fall, the insects are going to be gone in a month, and so you stock up when you can.
Right, and I guess they have a lot more because more insects are coming to the water and breeding and maybe getting stuck in.
That's right.
And eaten.
Yeah. And so here we've got beavers that are doing all this work, not only for themselves, but they're making habitat for all kinds of other animals, and they're helping us too. Because when you look at this area of water and wetland, this is a natural fire break. Right. So if we ever had a forest fire, the wetland is here to stop the fire, because it's wet and fires don't like wet.
Right. Huh. So the beavers have done us a favor, and all the animals who have come to live here.
Yep. And they get the name of keystone species because they make habitat for all kinds of other animals, and they make things that are useful to us too.
Yeah. Well, I was just noticing dragonflies over here.
Yep.
And I actually brought something to ask you about.
Okay.
So let me just grab that.
All right.
So I know this guy isn't a dragonfly, but my husband found him in the sawdust outside our house, and
cool.
I figure it's a chrysalis of some kind.
Yep.
Can you tell us anything about it and maybe what it's doing in the sawdust?
All right. Well, you can feel the weight. There's hefty weight in there. So there's a pretty hefty insect there. And so this is the middle stage of the life cycle of a moth. And so it's this is the pupa stage, and it's going to probably hibernate the winter in this condition. And when you say you found it in sawdust, I'm thinking there's a type of moth called the Sawyer moth. And so its caterpillar doesn't eat leaves like most caterpillars. It chews on rotting wood.
Right.
And so that's probably what we've got here. And so this is kind of a dual purpose stage. So first of all, there's the egg that it hatches from. Then there's the larva that is the eating stage. So that's when it's eating all that rotting wood and getting big and fat. And then it turns into the chrysalis, which is going to be it's also called the pupa stage. And it's going to turn all of its cells from caterpillar cells into butterfly cells. So it's basically, it kind of homogenizes itself inside there, and then the cells reorganize into a butterfly. And that's going to take until spring. So after it turns into the pupa, it's going to spend the winter hibernating, and then when the first warm days of spring come, it's going to just start wiggling and shrugging, and the skin's going to split, and out will come a moth.
So I am wondering, I can see all the shapes on it that sort of look like, I don't even know what to say, it almost looks like wings wrapped around it.
Yeah.
Is this just a shell, or does this in some way become part of the body of the moth?
Well, this is going to be the shell, but it's in the shape of what the moth's body is going to look like. So if you look at the back end here, that's the abdomen. And so that's going to look almost identical when it comes out as a moth. And then you have this part here, the top, which looks like it's got its wings wrapped around it. So that's going to become the wings. And then at the head part, you can see the little bulby head.
Yeah.
So it's already, prefabbed.
Yeah, so it's like it has created the shell in the form that will fit it perfectly as it grows?
That's right.
Interesting. Huh.
So I think what you should do with this guy is, Marcus knows where he got him.
Unfortunately, he was in a pile of sawdust that has to be moved.
Well,
so
then I would make a new pile of, wherever it's been moved, if it's not, say, into a place that's going to be burned or something like that.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be moved, you just pop this guy back into the new moved spot, and he'll probably do just fine.
So we could give him his own little pile of sawdust in the woodshed or something.
Yeah.
More appropriate than on the porch.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Well, thanks for showing me.
Let's see what else we can find.
Yeah. So come and have a look at this beautiful flower we've got here. This is Joe Pieweed. It's an a semi-aquatic plant. Beavers have made the habitat for them. And now their habitat for all these insects that are coming for the nectar and the pollen. And so here we've got one guy already. So that beetle there is a really interesting guy. He's a close cousin of fireflies, the lightning bugs that you see in eastern Canada that have the blinking lights at night. And so that guy's harvesting pollen from the flowers.
And what was he called again?
A soldier beetle.
But he doesn't make light.
No. Tally, here's another interesting guy. That's what he's got, but he'll be back. That's a hopper fly. So it's a fly that's trying to look like a honeybee. And that protects them because, you know, birds and even people won't bother him because they think he's armed and dangerous. And actually he has no weapons at all. So here we're on the edge of the wetland now, and we've got some of the salmonberry that are growing here. And, you know, we were looking at the little trout grabbing the bugs. Yeah. Well, there's lots of bugs around, and so one of the things I like to do is I like to sneak up to a leaf, yeah, and just gently turn it over and see what's hiding underneath, because a wise insect isn't going to be standing on the top of a leaf saying, "Hello, eat me, bird." They usually hide underneath them, and so let's have a look. Aha! Ooh, you see him?
Yeah. He's tiny.
Yep, tiny little green caterpillar. It's more like he's kind of translucent, and you can see the green leaf that's inside him. Yeah. That he's been eating. Wow. Now, I'm not sure what kind of caterpillar this is because he's tiny, and you know, there's thousands of different species, so I'm not sure what he is. But he's really cool in that he's doing the smart thing that you do when you're a little insect, is you go with camouflage and you go with hiding. Well, I see that he's sort of more yellowy beige on the front end. Yeah. I think that's his front end. Yeah. And greener on the back. Would that be because he ate something that color, or somehow he camouflages, or what could it be? My guess would be that it's what he ate most recently. Huh. And so you can see that there's some brown bits on the leaf. Maybe he ate some brown leaf, and that's what happened. But, you know, when you think about it, all these leaves around here, and, you know, first one we looked at, bang, there's somebody here. And so that probably means there's hundreds and hundreds of little insects all around, and that's what feeds the fish that are in the wetland, and the birds that come all to the forest. So I am wondering, as many people often wonder, especially in wasp and mosquito season, what is the good in insects and caterpillars and all these things? Well, you know, that's a good question. We often think that you know, even a wasp is a bad thing because it's coming to your picnic and that kind of thing. But when you know more about the wasps spend most of their time going to your garden, grabbing caterpillars, stinging them, cutting them up and feeding them to the kids. Gruesome. But a wonderful free pest control of your garden. So most of the insects that are out in the world are doing useful things like decaying wood so that we have good soil. They pollinate all the plants that are out there, and most of the insects that are out there, like the yellow jacket, spend most of its time doing things that we think are beneficial, like killing insects that eat our food, that kind of thing. Right. And so I say, well, one of the stories I say is when I walk in the forest, this is a long one, if we didn't have insects, I would have to have a chainsaw to cut my way through all the dead trees just to get around. And when and the other thing that would be a big problem is all the dead animals and things that are around would just be in piles rotting, when there's insects that come along and eat them and recycle them and put them back into good food for plants. And so if we didn't have the insects, we wouldn't have the cycles of life that keep us, that support us. Yeah. So that's my solution, is the more you learn about insects, the more you find out that they're doing things that we really need. Yeah. So like the beavers and the fish and the trees, they're an integral part of the ecosystem. That's right.
So as I mentioned at the beginning, I often find Will out exploring, and I'm wondering what brings you out here exploring?
I think it's the sense of discovery. You can come to the same spot every day, and if you stop and look, there's going to be something new and something interesting happening. And the world is so beautiful that being out here in nature is food for the soul too. So that's why I come out.
Great. Well, having said that, thank you for letting us see some of your discoveries, and I guess happy exploring. See you next week.